Hey, 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 welcome back. Welcome back to the Scorpio channel. My name is Laura. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to do a general message for Scorpio. Know that energy is fluid. Roles can be reversed. Always interpret the message as it best resonates with you. Also know on this channel, I like to dive deep within the reading. So I do look at everything, but we take time to look at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and see how they play it as karmic themes. This will allow you to understand why everything's unfolding the way that it is, why you're attracting the person that you're attracting. What is the whole point of the connection, especially if it's a toxic connection? We're like, why would the universe bring me someone toxic? A lot of people say on the channel, like when I read the comments on this channel and other channels, they say, I don't believe in God. It's like, why would God bring me like this person? So understand that the universe is what God is. The universe is ubiquitous. The universe vibrates at the energy of unconditional love. You, when you're born, you are vibrating at the energy of unconditional love because you don't have any perceptions about anything. You don't have any negative perceptions about yourself or anyone else. You haven't lived any karmic themes yet. Now, you might have in like bringing over like from a past life some negative karma, but you wouldn't be aware of it, so it wouldn't matter. It's usually an incident that happens that activates the actual trauma that awakens a karmic cycle. It's not like we're conscious of it. So again, when you're born at the energy of unconditional love. The thing is, we are all born into families that teach us ancestral karma, family karma, and then we collect our own karma. And so the universe always brings us what we need to learn. But learning is hard. Learning is hard because when you come, how the universe teaches you is that we learn through consequences. And so when we're connected to someone that gives us negative karmic consequences, they make us feel as if we're unworthy, we're not good enough, we don't have enough. When meanwhile, that person is normally the person that you're dealing with is the person that has those spiritual blocks. So I always look on my channel at the spiritual blocks, the shadows, and we see how they play it as karmic themes aside from seeing what your person's going to do. Because a lot of times the irony is it's like, okay, the whole reading's a shit show. And then the person actually has feelings. Actually has feelings. And they're coming back. And then it's like, now you're confronted. And maybe you're in a completely different energy. So there's again lessons. Lessons teach us. They can either teach us that we don't have enough, we're not good enough. They can keep us bound to a childhood trauma, a feeling of shame, of victimization, betrayal, or they can again uplift us to being able to see ourselves completely differently, a lot differently than we could have ever even imagined. And that's aligning you with your dreams, your desires. All right. So shadow readings give you the power. We do look and see what the person did do in the past, obviously. And we'll also look and see what this person from their level of consciousness is going to try to uh, create. A lot of times what they try to create, they don't create because again, they get in their own way. Or we can see how we can actually integrate the spiritual lesson and shape shift the situation altogether. So it's all about healing. Because again, that's what the universe wants you to do. That's why the universe brings you people, situations, and experiences that grow your heart and your mind to help you evolve into the highest state of consciousness. All right? All those people that say that they don't love God. God loves you and you love God because you actually have that energy inside of you. It's what gives you that supernatural power. When you give up that power, and we see a lot of people actually giving up that power unconsciously on the planet because they're not aware. There's a spiritual war happening, and that's a silent war. And it's a war on consciousness. So again, when you live a lot of bad and toxic relationships, eventually you're going to think that you can't be in a relationship. You're going to think it's just safer to be alone because you don't trust yourself. Or you may say, I trust me, I don't trust why those certain people come into my life. So hopefully today you will learn why somebody is in your life and what you need to do to break the karmic cycle that is keeping you bound to a place of limitation. Now, that doesn't mean that the person doesn't have good intention, too. Spiritual blocks are karmic, they're unconscious a lot of times. They're reactionary behaviorisms where a person gets in their own way. They self-sabotage themselves. They don't do it purposely. Like I said, these fell out, and I never believe in any mistakes. It's just I don't. Otherwise, my life would have been a mistake. So, first one, obsession. Second one, mistrust and doubt. Now we're going to take all three of them as the word of the video, and I've never done that before. But again, my rule is I don't never believe in any any mistakes. Hey, we might wind up going down a path that we wouldn't have, again, but that the universe wanted us to go down that path. Again, we put perceptions of good and bad, right and wrong on things. So I feel like you're in connection with someone that is like nonstop obsessing about you because they're seeing you completely different. They're seeing you evolve. They're seeing you like actually shape shift right in front of their eyes because I feel like you're healing. And you're healing it because a lot of times healing it's not just what we do, the shadow work, but understand everything that you give, the universe multiplies. So you give a mustard seed, God makes that multiply. We're all David going up against Goliath. So again, anything's possible. So again, shifting people's perceptions you can't do by saying, hey, I want you to see me different and I'm going to tell you all about me and I'm going to share with you how it should be. Person's going to shut down. They're not going to see you. They're going to see you from their level of consciousness. Only God can change a person's mind and heart about anything. Again, we get hardened hearts. So you're dealing with a person that has a hardened heart due to mistrust. So they really doubt that this connection is going to work out because here it is, your life is getting better. Their life seems to be getting worse, and you're moving further and further and further and further and further apart. So I don't think much is happening. I'm just getting that idea. I'm getting the idea that the person's insecure. That again, this is this person's level of consciousness. They're obviously at a low vibration because they are coming from a place of fear. Because when again, person again doesn't trust, they're in survival mode. They're always looking for something. They can't find anything with you. They almost wish that they could find something with you, but they can't. And so I feel like this person had a chance to be with you and they kind of they blew their chance. They blew their chance. So let's take a peek and see what this person did. All right. Got a cough trap in my mouth. Because I've been suffering from allergies. They left you alone. It's again, you felt like you were alone in like the relationship. And so you might as well have just been alone if this person wasn't going to come around. So I feel like they wanted you to hold space without giving them anything almost. I see like almost like a line in my head, like you're waiting in line and it's a really slow grocery store line, like, and like you just feel like you're waiting there. And I feel like for a while you actually did it. Well, you might have did it because you felt like you had to do it because of the situation that you were in. Some of you were in school, some of you were in work, some of you were, again, just whatever it was, busy, dealing with something else. And so, again, this person, never really gave a lot because they have trust issues. Their way is to get people to give them, and then it's almost like, prove to me this person proved to me. But the thing is, when you try to prove to someone that has already has that consciousness of, I don't believe it, Well, again, you can say, this is who I am, this is who I am, like how I started this reading, is what I said, that whole, I'm going to try and convince you. It's like you can't. The situations in your life, how you evolve is what tells people. It's what makes people see. And so understand only God can display its glory through the most broken. And again, that energy is unconditional love. And we can only do that by embodying what we love. So I feel like you're in a place of, just finding you, doing you. Yeah, this person that, like I said, has been burned before, so they burned you. They acted like because they see who you are now and that you were kind of always working on yourself, but this person always made excuses. Like things are easy for you. You don't really have to work that hard. And again, they wanted to almost like find fault with you, downplay you. And it's not like that hasn't happened to you before. I feel like it has happened to you before. I feel like you've been in situations before where people have not treated you in the best of light, not seeing you for your true self. They, again, projected their shit onto you and they looked at you through their distorted perceptions. You just thought that this person wasn't like that because there is a spiritual connection, and this person knows that there's a spiritual connection. Obviously, there is because this person wouldn't be reflecting on anything, especially if they doubt. But it's almost like they're stuck. They're stuck in like it's almost like a loop that keeps playing over and over and over and over and over and over because they've held back. And they've held back because they're so busy looking for problems. They're trying to convince themselves. They're trying to not focus on it. But the funny thing is, the more that you don't focus, the more that you do focus, the more that you say, I'm not going to think about that. You can't help but think about that. You know, this person would let people come into their life and prove to them, but their focus was always on it's not going to work. So they saw what they looked for. You didn't show them anything. You didn't show them anything. When they didn't give okay, they didn't even realize that you were gone for a while. They thought it was a game. Now they know it's not a game. And they know it's not a game because you are different. And they were so busy in their own selfishness and what was going on in their life, they didn't they weren't paying attention to how you were changing and evolving. Yeah. They didn't keep promises that they made. It's again, they broke your heart, but not your spirit. And that's really what it is. It's like this person was so caught up in the game where you weren't playing a game. I feel like this person is only used to being with people that play games. It's like they try to manipulate. It's people, and the reason why is because this person's heart isn't open. They don't trust. So everyone that dates this person knows that. So they come in and they give this person everything and do everything to make this person comfortable. And the person that is already committed to not being comfortable. And you saw that. You saw that by this person's attitude. And like without saying a word, you spoke volumes. You spoke volumes because it's making this person look at all their brokenness, their broken promises to you. They're reflecting back and they're seeing how many opportunities that they had, but they blew it every single time. They look back on how many times that you asked for certain things and they were the simplest things and they refused to give it, that there was so much resistance on this person that you were like, okay, like I'm only here because I thought that you had feelings for me. I'm only here because I thought that you wanted the same thing, but I'm not going to force you to want something that you don't want. I don't give a shit. It's like there's a whole other world out there. But this person's used to people playing that game, saying like, I'm leaving, but then I'm not really gone. You see, I'm gonna try to manipulate you into getting what I want. So that's why they shut down. But they're seeing that they're broken. Like I said, even though they broke the promises to you, and they're seeing it's again like, wow, like I did all that. I did that. So I feel like they feel like it's a missed opportunity. Yeah, because it's like again, the empty. Didn't give anything, didn't give anything, was so stingy, like so cheap, so stingy, and it didn't just need to be money. It could be like it's just time, energy, just anything, like information about themselves, just anything. Like what held you guys together really was a spiritual bond. And the irony is that like even though there was just this spiritual connection, this person would come in, not really say anything, and I think get you to talk about stuff where you talked about stuff, and it was never stuff that they wanted to talk about. They wanted to talk about sexual stuff. Again, keeping it real empty, giving nothing, They want to tell you anything about their family, their hobbies, their interests, places that they traveled, nothing, just nothing. But they would come in, and so it took you a while to realize this person's coming in, and they're not really saying anything, and they're not coming in like steady. They're not talking to me steady. They come back, it's like they circle back around. We'll circle back around on that. It's like that's more times than than the president's lady that does that. We're going to circle back around to that. It's didn't say anything, nothing, empty. That the truth is that, you know, after a while, you didn't feel fulfilled. You were like, okay, like this connection is not even, what am I holding on to? I feel like you got to the place where you were like, what am I holding on to? It's like you're keeping me connected, but I don't understand why if you don't want to keep me. Well, again, like I said, it started with I felt like someone was making you stand in line at a really long grocery store line. And so it's like almost like putting you on layaway for later, which is really rude by not giving anything, by being stingy. Because, well, I'm not really going to give you anything because I don't really know like who you are. And if I begin to give you stuff, then I'm going to continue to give you. And I'm going to continue to give you, and then I'm going to build more of a relationship with you that way. And that's what this person realized, which is why they gave you even less. Yeah, and you felt like it's like this person was like after a while, like you felt like you were trapped in a cycle, okay? Trapped in an endless cycle of the same thing, monotonous. Like you're like, okay, I would think that sometimes like we actually made it to like meeting for lunch. This is you, Scorpio, where you're like finally made it to lunch, yay! And and it's like, and of course, like right after that, the person took like 10 steps backwards. We see a lot of avoidant behavior, and like I said, you just were like, okay, you're not really doing anything. But it's like, okay, but why keep me around? What do you want? What's the point? And we'll look and see why were you attached to this person? Why couldn't you just let go right away? What was this person teaching you? If that they weren't giving you anything, they weren't fulfilling you, they had to be teaching you. So you never lose. Their ego is fragile to criticism and rejection, so they create walls to protect themselves. So this person, no matter what you said to them, they again put that wall up. And it's like, so this is again tells us more about what the person did, which I had already said, but I'm like, well, again, what does the person feel? What was the whole point of the connection? There are messages being exchanged through music and movies. So I feel like the more that this person doesn't want to think about the connection, the more that they do. So they're not aware of this connection. But we have to say that it's a spiritual one because it's teaching this person, it's changing this person. Now we can say, are they going to do anything? Are they going to move? Are they going to do anything? Or can we go a little bit deeper on what kind of connection? What what everyone is experiencing is a part of a larger collective clearing. So it's like that right now, it's like you both are clearing and you're clearing like really negative energy from childhood because this person doing what they're doing had to have triggered you. You know, if you're connected to someone spiritually, that means emotionally there should be a bond. This person's like starving you out. So it had to have made you feel a certain way. And that it was to bring it up, that spirit says to bring it up to help you clear. Because I'm saying, well, what's the point for you? And spirit saying to help you clear. Is this person clearing? This person is clearing, but they would never be clearing at the same rate that you're clearing because they were on a low vibration. Because their heart is closed. We know that by their actions of not giving. They just became aware of this. Now, being aware of it and now trying to actually do it is something completely different. They have to ground the spiritual lesson. And we don't know whether they want to do that. Their ego right now, remember, says no, but the universe is working on them through signs and symbols and music that's happening. And the whole point is to help them clear as well. But it's going to be a slower process, we can see. Our inner guidance is clear, but our ego is resisting it. So again, this person's in their ego. So it's like they know it, they know everything that that they should have done. But it's like in order to like really to integrate the spiritual lesson is not just the awareness. They actually have to again implement what they learned, which is they held back. They didn't tell you how they felt. They held back. They played games. They wanted to run around with a lot of other people. So again, they don't want to be honest. They don't want to ask for forgiveness. They don't want to be clear about, or they don't want to be clear and have a real straightforward intention of what they want for the connection. Again, that's what it means that their ego, it's like their ego is knowing what they should do, but they don't want to do it. And so again, this is where they are right now. We're going to pull like two healing things. We'll pull to see again, why did you attract this person into your life? Because at least there will be a like a spiritual lesson that you can learn to integrate so you can actually change your energy so you're no longer a vibrational match to this person. And in that, a lot of times you don't find the person attractive anymore. It kind of breaks that karmic spell because as you evolve, you know, you want more than just looks. You want more than just connection. The person actually has to be like full-blown emperor. Come in and lay it all down the line and help create, help build, help become. And that doesn't mean that they need to be a guy. It means that they need to come in at a certain energy. Whatever you're giving. If you've been living on your own and you're a woman and you're gay, well, guess what? You don't want somebody that's also coming in that's strong. And in that energy, it has nothing to do with masculine or feminine. It has to do with like the type of energy that we're looking for. Grounding, someone to help build, someone to help create, someone that's going to like pour into me, someone that I can pour into. Equal give and take reciprocity. That's what it means. And this person's in their ego. They're like, I want to act superior. I don't want to really come back and apologize. I don't really want to tell you everything that went on. I don't want to have to. And they're like mad about it a little bit. Yeah, no, that I want to be the authority here. I'm used to being the authority. You're making me answer to you. Well, it's not answer. See, it's again not mature enough, No, it's called apology. Take responsibility. It doesn't mean that you have to even agree. You might say, well, I wouldn't have gotten upset, but I understand that you got upset. So can I have forgiveness? Please forgive me. It's like I'm not going to do that. So again, we see an arrogance there. We see I want to be superior. I want to be above you. I want to be, so it's again, that has nothing to do with love, but this person's ego is so in the way. So instead they create the illusion because being that authority and being so hard means they're so strong. Again, that's what they're taught. I don't have any feeling. So I'm like the Hulk. Well, the Hulk actually has a lot of has a lot of feelings. But again, Iceman or whoever doesn't show emotions. I don't actually know any superhero that doesn't show emotions because our emotions are our supernatural power. It's like when we have our emotions behind something, it's that manifestation power, right? It's again, you can imagine something, but it's the emotions that drive us to take action and again to try. This person's just sitting around creating illusions. That's how you know that it's not true. Real emperors are out there doing stuff. Balance, like this person needs balance. So it's like it's not. Yeah, no, all it's really doing was giving you anxiety. And but understand that this person has anxiety. They need balance. And it's again because they're in their ego. They want to be the authority. So it's again, we don't see them doing anything. And I'm sorry if you wanted this person to do it. It's just again, they're the type of person that will cut their nose off to spite their face. It's just, it's again, like I'm gonna go down with the facade. It's like, and that's what we know someone to be in a very low vibration. I hide who I really am from you. Do I need to say more? I can't say any clearer. That spirit saying that's not who this person is. It's again, I'm creating the illusion. So it's like, if I can't really show you who I am, then how could I be in a relationship with you? I'm too busy hiding behind the walls of who I want you to perceive I am because I don't like me. So that's why I know that people don't like me because I don't like me. So I look for problems. And I like to come across as the authoritarian figure. So it's again, I have no feelings or emotions. I seem strong. But real emperors aren't like that. Real authority figures aren't like that. True authority figures, I mean, unfortunately, today we see a lot of authority figures in this energy of my way and yelling. Just go to the airport, give anybody authority, take your laptop out of the. It's like you got to scream at me, take your shoes off, take your shoes off. It's like speak, that's your job. If you don't like your job, I'm sorry that you're tired of saying it all day, but that's part of your job. It's like make it fun. Sing, take your shoes off, like do something different. It's your choice. But people abuse the power and it becomes distorted. So, like, where this person, like, if they were really an authoritarian figure, they would have humanitarianism in there as well. We see people like Princess Diana. She was an authoritarian figure, but there was a softness to her. She again did everything with compassion, with love, with gentleness, and with emotion. We see all the authoritarian figures like have emotion. So again, this person has a distorted perception of who they need to be. And that's how we know it's a second chakra imbalance, that they are overcompensating. And that's why you're like, okay, the energy doesn't even feel like it's right. It's like, I feel one thing and you're showing me something else. So it's like you're gaslighting me. And it's like this person again is like, I'm going to go down with that ship. I'm going to go down with the ship. It's like, I'm not going to let you see who I am because I would rather stay in my ego and be like, I left you before you left me. Like, I'm not going to give you the chance. but really they're afraid that you would walk away from them, to be honest with you. I know I was a distraction from your pain. So the person was like, I know, why would you be connected to me? So again, they're actually looking for a reason because they're like, I'm not good enough for you. I'm not good enough for you. I know that. It's like, but I want to know why you didn't know that. So it's again, that's what this person's saying, where you might be looking at this person saying, I saw your worth. I don't know why you didn't see your worth. So what you're both saying to each other is, why don't you see your worth? You're both saying it. It's like it to each other. And it's like goes to like, you see? And that's due to some heavy duty childhood pain. We're going to pull one more. I will wait for a sign from you. So understand if you were to do any little thing like like Morse code, like any little thing, this person would be over in your home, wherever you are in a heartbeat. But they refuse to be the one that reaches out right now because they're in their ego. But that's now, and remember, if this is true love, eventually that ego comes down. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. God says, I am love. And if this is true, so understand, you'd be like, well, what am I supposed to do? And Spirit says, live your life. Live your life. Have a love affair with your life, because if you're attracting this type of person into your life that offered so little and you were willing to take it, you didn't see your worth like your person saw. So we have to say, why? What is transpired? What are we supposed to learn? We look at the inner child wounds, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it just happened in childhood. Could have happened again. Oh, okay, no mistakes, no mistakes. What did I say? No mistakes. We're putting it to the side, all right? What do we see? Neglect and rage right there. Neglect and rage. So again, no mistakes, no mistakes. We will fix, but just because, again, like I say, they're inner child wounds, doesn't mean that a karmic program couldn't have been activated when you were like 15 by a friend, or 20 by like a complete stranger, again, like at all different times. Karmic programs are karmic almost like contracts from previous lifetimes that you didn't learn. So it's almost like, hey, there's still like a lesson that needs to be learned, but you wouldn't be able to learn it when you were like 5. You know what I mean? You'd have to learn it at the age appropriate, and also the entire dynamic of your life, where you are in your life, actually does influence how karmic themes are played out. So, but what we see a lot of times is that when we have a wound in childhood, it continues to play over and over and over and over and over and over, where this is where we're saying, oh no, I know I'm a failure. And it's like, I know I'm a failure because of this incident, and you actually have proof. But the problem is again, you were coming from a limited consciousness, one of fear, and behaviorisms and habits that are built on fear we are self-sabotaging. They're just self-sabotaging. And it's because at the core, the person doesn't believe that they're deserving because they were conditioned to believe so. They lived in an environment around someone that told them that too many times. It's what keeps people bound to a limited perception about themselves. And that makes them, and when we have a limited perception about ourselves, we wind up living those karmic themes of victimization, betrayal, ones that really make us not trust the world. And that's what we saw with this person, that they are not conscious of it though, you know. Now, like goes to like, you're a mirror of who, what comes into your life. And I have a feeling, again, you grew up similar because I see rage and neglect. So I see two like not very good wounds, abandonment. Third one, it's like I'm hoping that we could get a gift. A lot of times, what you see when you see the wounds, such heavy wounds of rage and and abuse, neglect, abandonment. Well, there are gifts because the child that survives thrives. Remember that always. It's again because the imagination, escapism, the child has to survive somehow. They can't just get stuck and freeze forever. What do you think happens? It doesn't feel good to be overstimulated and freeze. So they go into their head. They detach, they disassociate. We're only in physical form to learn and to manifest. Remember that. Anchor. So we see again the parental figure and the child. So it did happen in childhood. This affected your support. That support, how when a child is developing, it's how they perceive themselves. If a child doesn't have support, they don't feel safe, well, then everything's going to be in alignment with that core belief. They're not going to feel good about themselves. They're going to live in fear. They're going to not, in fear of not being loved. Doesn't necessarily mean fear like I'm not going to get fed or I'm going to get, beaten today. But a lot of times, if again, a child feels unloved, there's a reason and there's usually abuse that comes with it. Because children don't just have rage. They don't just have rage. It happens from a child seeing themselves as a failure, as seeing not good enough. And when they get picked on and bullied, and when it happens at home first. And we see that because, again, we see the parent here. You see the parent now. It doesn't necessarily mean that they meant to, but they might have needed a lot of healing themselves. So every little thing was a trigger. Every little thing was a trigger, and the parent's a narcissist because they haven't done any shadow healing. So they're walking around full of trauma, and everything that the child does is like it's a reflection of who they are, is a perception. So if the child doesn't have isn't getting good grades in school, isn't bringing any praise to the household, but is only bringing negativity. If the child has a learning disability, if the child has, like walks funny, if the child like has a speech impediment, whatever it is that parent seems as you make me feel inadequate because you're an extension of me. So it becomes a trigger. And so the parent ignores, neglects where the child feels abandoned, child's needs not met. So they grow up in survival mode, which when that happens, the child's nervous system is going in fight, flight, or freeze all the time. And there are habits and behaviorisms that are formed out of survival at that time. But those behaviorisms and habits are what is going to sabotage this child later on in life. Because we continue to live karmic themes. And those karmic themes keep us in a place of limitation and fear. The spiritual war is of the mind. Psychic trauma. Psychic trauma is that when you're shown something and you begin to live from that level of consciousness. And then even when you get out of that environment, you are still seeing the world through that distorted lens. And the lens is that reality. But there's many different realities that play out at one time. Your level of consciousness depends on your core beliefs, and both you and this person have mirroring wounds. Only I feel like you took a different path than this person. You did different things. Joy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more. Joy and vulnerability. So I feel that, obviously when you grow up in this environment, joy is robbed from you. But when you're a highly sensitive person, which is what happens when you grow up in an environment like this, because you're growing up in a place of survival. So it makes, you're living from a real reactionary standpoint. Hold on a second. That. So we pulled joy and vulnerability. And so I feel like when you were growing up, your nervous system again was highly sensitive, because when we grow up in survival mode, that's what happens, because you're always on alert. And so you're conditioning your nervous system unconsciously to be sensitive. So I feel like you couldn't help but to be vulnerable. Like it's like you just were vulnerable due to the environment, but you again were taught not to be vulnerable, because every time you were vulnerable, you were abandoned. It's again, anytime you showed emotion, you were abandoned. Anytime you needed support, again, there was no anchor, right? There was no parent, there was no support. So you were taught not to have vulnerability. But even though you again grew up in that environment, you like were always somebody that was like you were sad because of what was going on, but believe it or not, you had joy. You had joy. There was a part of you that again just had this empathic energy, and this empathic energy is one that's sensitive, it's very childlike, it's very vulnerable, it's very trusting. And but again, I believe that you were taught not to be vulnerable, and someone tried to steal your joy. There was no anchor, abandonment, and neglect. So what would happen is every time you would create something, it was almost like, being that there was no support, no one showed up, no one contributed to it, no one praised you about it, that you were pretty much like ignored. And so over time, this creates a lot of anger. It creates a lot of resentment, because over time, what's perceived is I'm not good enough. And then because that's what they're being told, that's what you were being told in your subconsciously, not your parents were saying you're not good enough, or some might have. I mean, with this energy, I wouldn't be surprised. However, a lot of times it's just not by not having support, by not having that anchor, by not having, by being abandoned. What do we need? We need parents when we are, venturing into new things. We're again vulnerable. We don't know that there's children are more sensitive. We need that support. We need that guidance. There wasn't any guidance. So again, that you were neglected. Again, vulnerability, you were taught that was not a safe place. And so again, so was this person. So we see a lot of mirroring energy here. So joy, though I do feel like you had this joy, where I don't think this person that rather that's connected to you had joy. There's just rage, or if they had joy, it was robbed from them due to the trauma that they perceived. So that's why you both were brought into each other's lives, that there was actually stuff that you both needed to look at. It's again, and this person triggered it with inside of you again in the beginning, and now you're triggering it inside of them, because now that they actually want to come back, well, you're not the same person. It's again, you shape shifted in front of this person's eyes. So it's like almost like you evolve past them. So they're feeling like that they missed out on an opportunity. However, this does lead us to say that they have an opportunity to evolve into a higher state of consciousness, to maybe one day catch up to you, because again, it now they got triggered. They're just on a slower kind of, trail, the way that they went about their healing. They went about running around with 1,000 different people and giving their energy to other people, and living from their perceptions and their addictions, and everything that is not going to give anybody any results just keeps them stuck in karmic patterns of the past, where you again forced yourself to do different things, to become different things, to become independent, where again, where that helped you heal, where you wouldn't have been able to heal it on your own by saying, "Oh, hey, listen, I'm healed." No, this is a gradual process, and it's one where when you're pouring into yourself and giving yourself that self-love, you're creating things for yourself. You're making a way where there was no way. That's just for you. And in that, you're finding who you truly are. But this person still doesn't really know who they are. You feel safe because you know that you're the one that's in charge of who you allow into your life, who you again need to set boundaries with, and again, where you need to again fill yourself. That's what happened when you walked away from this person. You said, you know what, I'm not going to stay in a place where I'm neglected again. I know what it feels like to be abandoned. Why am I going to stay in a place where I can't be vulnerable? Because you want to neglect me. Want to neglect me and abandon me and not give me support, not give me love. Okay, well, I'm going to take it away. And that's what this person never thought. They thought you were going to stand on that fucking grocery store line that was never actually going to get to the checkout, and that you aren't going to date anyone else because you were holding space while they got to do whatever the hell that they wanted to do. And so, of course, they feel like that they doubt quite highly that you take them back because they can see how selfish that they were. They see it. A blind man could see it. This fell out. We have to take it. But I wanted to pull one. Damn it. All right. Well, and the spirit says, well, it's all about being in the here and now, being in the present. I don't like that answer either. And it's like the spirit says, it's all about being in the moment. Only be in the now. Only in the now do you get divine guidance through gut intuition, inner knowing. So you never know a lot of times where you're going in advance. You only know it in the moment, and it's because your intuition is what leads you. So spirit says, don't focus on the past. Don't focus on the future, only on the now, in the now, which means like if this person does come back and they come back different, you might actually want to be with this person if they've evolved. But you would again have to not reflect back on the past. And for those of you that say, no, I don't want to be with this person, I want to be with so and so, Spirit says, keep your mind on the present moment. Become yourself. It's again, become the best version of yourself so I can bring you someone that matches that energy, that's going to give to you. Because then you've really integrated the spiritual lesson. It's again, not just the awareness of, oh, I'm different. No, it's that you've actually were presented with a karmic lesson. You passed the lesson because you're like, no, you're not giving me anything. I'm going to go over there, which is why it hurts this person so much. And I say that at 111, by the way, awakening, right? So it's almost like you're awakening to your true self. And that's by choosing you. So Spirit's saying, only act from a place of the moment and know your goodness, that you overcome whatever your perceived imperfections are. Or again, real imperfections might be like, well, you have a problem like balancing your checkbook. Spirit might say like overcome them, meaning learn. Like this is what we mean by investing in yourself. You're not good at it, well, that's okay. That's where you start. Every master starts off as a disaster, Spirit says. And it wouldn't, be uncommon for you to think that you were a little bit of a disaster in certain areas if you came from a place where you were in survival. You weren't able to actually logically figure things out. So you might perceive that you're inadequate, but you're not, Spirit is saying. Spirit is saying, polish your character. Again, character is unconditional love. Are you still holding on to anger or resentment? Wouldn't be uncommon, again, if you, again, had this type of energy. Remember, you have to transmute it. And it says feed on the positive. So again, give yourself more of what you're good at, what you do. Become it, become it. Mastery comes in doing. And then, thus I free myself, allow my goodness to manifest and become a source of joy. Look at that. We had joy already. Where Spirit says, you always knew how to do this. Because a child that survives thrives. Remember that. So, it's again, Spirit says, you always knew how to manifest your life. You just got into the creative mind, the intuitive mind. This is the gateway. This is again the way to ride that spiritual realm in the ether. Through gentleness, I offer unconditional support, understanding, and love to myself and others, which means there's no judgment. Whatever somebody shows you, again, have no judgment. Like, again, don't cast that stone if you can't, if you couldn't, if you've never done anything, then you can cast it, but we know that everybody's done stuff. Your sin may not look like my sin, but we've all sinned. And where Spirit's saying that person that's hurt you in the past was an asshole, but don't treat them like an asshole when they come back, or if they come back, or if you run into them. Give them the unconditional love, even if you feel like they don't deserve it, because then the universe will make sure that you are, again, when you are out of alignment, that you will be received with the same compassion that you gave out. Otherwise, we're not. We are greeted with the same anger, the same resentment that we hold for others, and which is why we have to, again, integrate it and fully transmute that spiritual lesson. And so that's how Spirit leaves it off, and you will let me know how you resonated with this one, Scorpio. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.